Thank you for coming here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's always a good excuse to have your company. So
Being here makes me feel that
this
I'm
time
doing something right,
you
actually.
are, you truly
To
are.
be
Yeah,
deserving of your attention,
thank
your friendship, and your interview.
you. Yeah, yeah, my man. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. So I, learned about you before I met you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I had heard about you. I'd heard about Plusable for a while before I got to actually meet you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I meet you, and then I immediately learn, like, yeah, you're, PR executive, but you're also a drummer, and you're multilingual, and you're all these things. You know what I mean? But the purpose of these conversations I'm having is like, who are you to you? You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? So like, I always go back to my childhood and like, how did I first kind of, what are my memories of discovering my own personality and my own identity, and who was it that I wanted to be or saw myself as potentially being in the world? You know what I mean? So like, for you, who was Carlos as a little boy?
Um, that's an interesting question. I was always very talkative. I was always very goofy, making people laugh. There
Mm-hmm.
was something about making people laugh and spreading good energy and touching people in a positive way that I've always liked. A lot of people actually told me, even when I was then became a TV reporter, people would be like, Carlos, have you ever tried stand-up comedy? Even till today.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And I'm like, I'm trying to be serious here. So it's like, maybe I'm failing, but this whole idea of touching people,
yeah.
impacting people in a positive way was always there from a very tender age,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's trying to make them laugh or to be very righteous about uplifting. It was always something that I've had in me, to a point that when I was 6 or 7, this dude, I was run over by a car.
Mm.
And two, three
You were
days
run over by a car. Oh,
and 2, 3 days later, after, like, I only have this little scar, it
okay.
wasn't that serious. I ended up going to the hospital, and I was all woozy after 3 days
Mm-hmm.
still. And the guy that ran me over, he came to
Wow.
see me, and my mom was like, "Well, would you like me to carry you to the car, or you rather this guy carry you?" And I'm like, in my mind, I was like, it was actually technically my fault,
Mm.
and I don't want him to live with that conscience, so
Mm.
let him carry me.
Mm.
You
Yeah.
know, so I always had this try to be very righteous from a very young age, and
Mm.
very sensitive to the notion of other.
Yeah.
um it wasn't the easiest, because I guess the guy was also nervous, so he ended
Mm.
up hitting me, hitting
Mm.
my knee
Yeah.
against the door on the way out, and then putting me inside the car. I hit the back of my head. It's like, you know what,
Right.
that's good, just leave me here before you actually end up
Yeah.
killing me or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
But I've always very respectful of others, and that. Then when I was younger, I was also involved with theater in school.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then by the age of 13, I started playing the drums. Also, my cousin was involved with the punk hardcore movement
Yeah.
in Portugal.
Yeah.
So I guess it was the first time that I was exposed to that, like
Right.
really loud kind of. And I'm like, I love this. You know, I was
Mm-hmm.
7 or 8. I wanted to be like my older
Yeah.
cousins. They
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
into punk. They're dressed like punk rockers. And I'm like, that's super cool. All their friends were either punk rockers or rockabillys. There was a
Okay.
big revival
Yeah.
of the 50s kind of
Yeah.
look
Yeah.
back then in that specific region of Portugal, Coimbra.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, and then when I was 15, I was lucky enough to play with my best friend. So I've always had a very positive
Yeah.
relationship with music. I think things have to align a certain type of way for you to also associate music or any type of instrument with
Mm-hmm.
something fun, because it requires a lot of discipline, and it's
Yeah.
not always fun because it can be hard to
Yeah.
learn an instrument, you know. And then from there, played. I went from heavy music to then playing reggae, dub,
Mm-hmm.
some jungle patterns, hip hop
Mm-hmm.
beats, and then went to college and studied media studies, which was
Okay.
something that I was like, I was a pretty good student in school, and my mom was a teacher. She always very enforced
Mm-hmm.
good education, and I was like, well, what could be a good broad enough area that I
Yeah.
could eventually make it compatible with a entertainment and artistic expression. In this case, my music. Media studies. It's one of those that you're everything, you're kind of nothing in
Okay.
concrete.
Yeah.
Only the career
In the
eventually
mix.
will tell whether you go more towards marketing or PR or become a journalist or so. So it's still very out in the open social sciences and
Yeah.
humanities. And when I graduated from Portugal, one of those years I also spent in Spain. That's why I also speak Spanish. I went to college in Madrid. And because, I'm fourth generation Portuguese American, I decided to take advantage of the fact that I have dual citizenship and
Yeah.
try my luck
Yeah.
in Newark.
Yeah.
I was maybe about to get signed in Portugal, talking to a label.
Okay.
And I'm like, nah, everything is happening too fast. I got to go to the States and at least try it out.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when I came to Newark. It's been 18 years. So Carlos is this person that has these different layers about myself and different talents that I was, I guess, courageous enough to try to develop.
Yeah.
I took definitely the harder route because
Right.
I could have just either just 100% just focus on my music or just be a journalist, both or a communicator, and both require a lot of your time. So it sounds very good and the whole thing, he plays, he this, but like it took a toll. It wasn't always easy
Right.
to develop these two areas that sometimes now with Plusable it's easier to organize these things, but before Plusable, a younger Carlos was like,
Right.
no, it's my music, I'm gonna go touring, then I don't know, it's all about choices that ultimately also took a lot of them. I took a beating. It's like going on tours, but then at the expense of then coming and then just trying to refine my purpose in the whole communication world and then music, and it was hard.
Yeah.
But it all boils down to that.
Right.
The respect for others, the responsibility that come with you having the ability of touching people. And that's a responsibility that I don't take lightly, whether I'm playing or crafting some PR strategies, working on some stories, documentaries. It's all about valuing the subject matter, whether it's an audience that I'm playing and trying to see are these people having fun. Like I respect people's time, and people that take time to celebrate that moment with me will always have my respect.
Yeah. It's funny, like I believe that we're all telling ourselves stories about the people that we interact with and that we work with and that we, have friendships with. And none of these stories are 100% accurate, but they're all reflective of like what our perspectives are and whatever our histories are. But like I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, there's something about Carlos that is this. There is this capacity you have to lead from behind. So like when I see what you do with PR, it's like you see the vision, you see the room, you see the scale or the scope, but whoever the client is, they're in front, And then the same way with like drumming, like you're keeping the tempo. Everybody's following you, even if they're up front. You know what I mean? And you give them that latitude and that space to do their thing, but you still serve as like an anchor. You know what I mean? And then when it's necessary, you take your solo. You know what I mean? When it's necessary, you save the speech or whatever the thing is that kind of helps move this thing along. But I'm really, really fascinated with, and I would like to consider myself a servant leader. So like I enjoy people who appreciate the responsibility of leadership, but don't do it out of a sense of ego, but do it out of a sense of purpose and like for the good of others.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But that's the definition to me of true leadership. And as far as, I guess you're right. I mean, a lot of that way of being in music, I also bring to other areas that I do.
Yeah.
But drummers are essentially that. We have the responsibility of making others sound better.
Yeah.
Any show you go, if the singer's kind of, or the guitar's kind of out of tune, but if the drummer has that, you get, you feel something. You know, like it's clean. The transitions are clean. If it's just like, you know that your body's about to respond on that one.
Right.
You know, so that we have it's a very loud instrument. It's yes, we can play more softly, but it's supposed to be. It's when you mess up, people are gonna hear.
Yeah.
So with that comes a lot of responsibility, and again, the respect, the notion of others, and building a good foundation.
Yeah.
For others to also shine, but in the process, you shine with them.
Yeah.
I've been a TV host as well, so I don't take away from. If I have to lead, I can. But PR is all about also being discreet about how you it's about your clients. It has to be about, and in this case, a lot of our clients are semi-local governmental institutions that also care about the broader cause.
Yeah.
So being behind the scenes in a way and do it in an elegant way, make sure that we're hired to elevate something or someone, and not so much see what we're doing. You know, like, this is us. You know, it's it defeats the purpose. It's not about you. It has to be about something that gives purpose, and then you find your way and how to play a positive role towards the overall mission that we're all trying to accomplish in a different way. I guess we're all part of generation that I believe in partnerships, and I believe in there's a lot of things about Newark and about the reality of Newark that I don't know that you know. And when you partner, if we're to work together, you would bring that, and I would bring things about my European heritage or that lifestyle there that you wouldn't really know, and we would complement each other's experiences. So that's what I try to do. You know, like whether I'm playing or working with a client and working in campaigns, leadership is about understanding your role and how you can benefit the overall mission. And for me to also be involved, I also really need to believe in what it is that we're doing. And I'm very passionate about anything that has to do with Newark and anything that stimulates unity and in Newark, and also stimulates the music, the local music scene. Newark has such a great tradition, and it's also very humbling. That comes also with a great responsibility for people to give me that status of you're a part of Newark. You're a part of, you bring a contribution to this local scene, and that in me doesn't give room for vanity. Oh, Carlos, he plays this. It gives room for responsibility, and it fuels me to want to keep on going and to make it even bigger, and in the process learn, and in the process maybe even come up with different projects that I didn't even know, because all of a sudden I know you, and now you're a spoken word artist as well, and maybe God knows what can happen one of these days as well. You know, so like I'm all about collecting these experiences and giving my contribution in the process.
I think Newark, I mean, granted, I'm only here, right? Like I don't live elsewhere, but I'm really fascinated by Newark, even as a resident, and the depth of Newark's history, the richness of Newark's cultural, scientific, technological contributions, academic contributions over the course of history, like over the course of hundreds of years. You know what I mean? And having a city that has such a heritage like Newark is rare, right? and being a resident and an engaged resident is rare.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, Newark, and then this is in my opinion, one of Newark's greatest challenges is in the storytelling, and really like telling a cohesive story of its own identity and history and what it is. Like Newark is a city of moments in time. You know what I mean? But there's not a great deal of storytelling of the through line throughout history that keeps Newark a consistent cultural center. So it's like people think of 1967 and the rebellion as like a moment. You know what I mean? And people think of the 90s, like stolen cars and high crime, like that was a moment. People think of now and like the resurgence or whatnot. It's like a moment. You know what I mean? But these aren't the only moments, obviously. It's like, but if we had a better story being told throughout the time, then we would more readily connect with all of those moments. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like we don't like. I say all this to say, I'm very grateful to be here now, and I'm grateful to be in the company of people who are great storytellers and have an appreciation and respect and regard for the larger stories than their own. You know what I mean? The larger stories than right now, the larger stories than this particular neighborhood or this culture of people or what have you. And I think that we all stand to benefit really, really beyond what we imagine if we can just get in line on that note. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's a embarrassment of riches. Like it's so much wealth here. Culturally, economically, there's so much wealth here. You know what I mean? And there are activations and there are events and there are shows and there are, programs and all these things, but the cohesion of it is what I believe would make it all stronger for all of our benefit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so yeah, I'm glad you're here right now.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
It's definitely a great time to be a storyteller in Newark.
Yeah.
Sometimes I see in Newark a similar phenomenon that I also see in the Portuguese community. That there are these amazing pearls,
right,
amongst the Portuguese community, and it's undeniable the honorable contribution that the community has given.
Yeah.
The overall picture of Newark as well, even that post era of the riots and all, and the restaurants that, by the way, you actually eat in Newark the same way, and sometimes even better in some restaurants in Portugal.
Right.
I've eaten better in Newark than in some restaurants in Portugal.
Wow.
It's not even authentic. No, it's sometimes I've tried it, and Isabel too.
Yeah.
So but at the same time, unlike other communities like the Italians that actually have a very similar culture, Portuguese, Spanish, Italian, and Greek, we all look the same. It's a very Southern European kind of thing. I look Portuguese, but I could also be Italian. I could also be Spanish. We kind of have that kind of Southern look.
Got you.
But they were able to understand how to move collectively in a way that the Portuguese never really did. And I could also say that this is also the result of having a really long dictatorship in Portugal and our egos and all that. But in Newark, there's a lot of great people doing a lot of things. But it's also, the city is also pretty fragmented. You have the North Ward, the South Ward. Like it results, it kind of stimulates this divide. And then 21, and then the Portuguese and Brazilian on that side, and they live in their own bubble.
Right.
So, and also one thing it's also very rare to have people like you that are local and really proud and really also are local, but have a global perspective enough to see Newark kind of from above as well and be really critical.
Yeah.
But the tendency is from wherever you were born, a lot of these people are like, this is great, but I want to explore the world. I want to
Right.
leave.
Right,
And
right.
they end up appreciating
Mhm.
what they left once they leave.
Yeah, yeah.
But the ones who actually stay and still appreciate it are
Mhm.
very rare, right?
Mhm.
Especially the ones that are very militant and very that try to push
Mhm.
things forward, like you.
Mhm.
Um, but overall, I think it's a great time to be in Newark, and storytellers have this responsibility to
Yeah.
tell the stories that should be told, because it's easier to
Yeah.
write about Newark under a negative light. It's been like that,
Mhm.
and sometimes we work with other people that come and film with
Mhm.
us, and they're like, yeah, Newark is actually pretty cool.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
I'm always reading these things about
Right.
Newark. I didn't even know this was this cool.
Right, right, right.
And I'm like, so that, and deep inside, I'm like, that's when I really need to keep on doing this,
Yeah, yeah, I hear you.
and helping these local institutions, putting these stories out there, and because it's we shouldn't even be competing. Like, Newark should never position itself as the cheaper alternative to New York,
Right,
because what Newark offers, New York doesn't
right,
offer.
right.
And to just give you a simple example, what we the type of experience that you have here eating in a restaurant here, a Portuguese restaurant, is not going to be the same,
Right.
because in New York they're more of like about the fusion.
Yeah, yeah.
Newark is about the real,
Mhm.
real.
Mhm.
It's about authenticity,
Mhm.
and there's also beauty to it. I'm not knocking. I get it
Yeah.
that chefs have to be creative, and
Right.
I think that's also pretty cool.
Right.
But in Newark, in the time that everything is very artificial intelligence, with all the benefits that come with it as
Mhm.
well. We had that
Yeah.
conversation
Yeah,
as
yeah, yeah.
well. But everything is very shallow and social media and fast, and all of a sudden, everybody wants to be an influencer.
Mhm.
In the middle of all that, Newark is still Newark.
Yeah.
Newark is still raw.
Yeah.
Newark is still for the ones who actually are looking for true authenticity.
Right.
And that's a story that more and more people that are kind of lost in space and time
Mhm.
should hear,
Mhm.
because this is what you get here. Like,
Yeah.
Newark is way more than just having a cool downtown with some
Right.
cool buildings by the river that all of a sudden it's hip.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Newark has been hip even before hip was hip.
Right, right, right,
So
right, right, right.
so like Newark is deep rooted
Yeah.
cultural traditions that
Mhm.
are hip hop,
Mhm.
the capital of the world of soulful house music. How come people don't know about
Mhm.
that?
Mhm.
Chicago has claimed the status of house music.
Mhm.
Detroit has claimed the status of capital of techno music in the world. What about Newark?
Mhm.
This is very Newark.
Yeah, Newark, I think as far as house music, like Newark, people in the culture in these other cities know of the other cities. Like people in Baltimore know about Newark and Chicago, and people in Chicago know about Newark and Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
And Newark definitely knows about Chicago and Baltimore. But the general public has no idea like where the homes are, you know what I mean, of this sound, of this culture, this music. And I think a lot of that has to do with just the nature of subculture. You know what I mean? Like by the time something that was subculture becomes culture, unless it came from one place, most people don't know where it came from. Like there's like DC Go Go, it's just DC. You know what I mean? Or like New Orleans Bounce, it's just New Orleans. But this like house music and soulful house music especially is like it has multiple homes, which is like really makes it difficult to pin it down on like what's the launch point or where's the epicenter of it, so to speak. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think I agree with you. I think like it's something that people should. It's something that Newark stands to benefit for taking more ownership of and carrying the flag of,
and be more proud
broadly.
about it, because even a lot of people in Newark, if you were to ask for someone who's traveling from abroad, where can I go for a turn up, or where can I go for this? Oh, no, not here. You got to go to Brooklyn. You got to go to New York City. You got to go to Jersey City.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What about here?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Before you go to Jersey City or before you go to New York City, why don't you explore here?
Right. Yeah. Let me ask you this. I'm gonna hit you with some questions that are just like my, things that I'm interested in. What is your relationship personally with ambition?
Ambition?
Mm-hmm.
My Well, although I stand in the back
Mm-hmm.
a lot of it, as you were saying,
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that I don't recognize myself as the person
Mm-hmm.
that can be the leader
Mm-hmm.
that stays in the back,
Yeah.
that gives a contribution to the betterment of what it is
Mm-hmm.
that I'm trying to do. So I recognize my talent.
Yeah.
Because I recognize my talent, I should always be very responsible.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I was born with a certain, like, either gifts or I was able to at least find what I believe is a good fit, a vocation for me,
Mm-hmm.
that's another topic. We really didn't know. Maybe I would have been a better doctor. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I would have been a better psychologist.
Got you.
I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
very sensitive to people. Sometimes I wonder.
Mm-hmm.
But I happened to study and work, and I chose music and PR and communication strategy overall. So my ambition comes from a side of responsibility that I have towards myself first and foremost, but also towards the ones around me that I somewhat touch and inspire.
Right.
So I always feel it in me, like it's up to me to always keep on doing bigger and better. And when people give me some sort of momentum or recognition, and plus it's been getting all of this praise and recognition, my drumming, of course, for years, it always fuels me to do more.
Yeah.
So my ambition comes from continuous inspiration.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by ambition for a number of reasons. One of which is like ambition, I feel like gets a bad rap the same way ego gets a bad rap. Wherein, like you said, like you have to tell yourself to be the propeller for this thing, right? Or to be the igniter of this thing, or whatever, the context is. Like you tell yourself to step forward into this work, right? And by and large, most people don't feel comfortable enough telling themselves step forward. You know what I mean? And so for a lot of people, ambition looks like something unpleasant, wherein it's like it's in my opinion, when it's carried out responsibly, it is what creates the flow that everybody gets to align with. You know what I mean? And then like the same with ambition, same with ego. It's like ego gets a bad rap as if the world is a better place when nobody believes in themselves. It's like, that's not true.
Right.
You know what I mean? We need people to be brave enough and courageous enough to be the example, right or wrong, good or bad, right? Like everybody, we all need references. You know what I mean? And the encyclopedia is not going to satisfy us. We need real life references in real time to say, hey, so-and-so did it, so I can do it, or so-and-so fucked it up, so I'm not going to do it like that. But somebody has to be that person. You know what I mean? And by and large, most people won't volunteer to do that. But it requires that, like that role is required.
Right.
You know what I mean? And for entrepreneurs and creatives, there is this constant internal conflict between the purpose of the work and what it takes to be your own internal voice to tell yourself to step forward and do the thing. You know what I mean? And so like, yeah, I'm really fascinated by how people kind of navigate that, especially creatives, especially entrepreneurs. Because like nobody asked for this. Nobody asked for the New York Times. You know what I mean? I do believe that the value is established, right? But nobody asked for it, and still nobody's asking for it per se. You know what I mean? But if I don't get up and do things, if I don't get up and have conversations and meet people and make it my business to tell other stories, the vacuum effect takes over. And then no stories are told. And not that no stories are told, but just less stories are told. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's not a binary thing. It's not like if I don't do it, nobody will. but it is if I don't do it, what the fuck am I doing?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like because apparently I see the vision, I see a purpose, I see a value. So if I don't ignite myself to do this, or if I don't make myself the propeller to keep this thing moving,
Mm-hmm.
why do I even have the thoughts?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, why do I have the thoughts and the interest
Right.
if I'm not going to activate on them and go do
Mhm.
these things? You know what I mean? And go be this person.
But as you said, you have to believe.
Yeah.
Right. First of all, you have to believe. And again, it's everything like PR. It's also a matter of perspective, of also telling the story through this lens.
Yeah.
Helping you mold a perception under, in this case, since we're very moved by purpose, under the righteous light that could inspire. That's all about helping Newark be better. And all. But for instance, when we talk about ambition and ego, it doesn't have to be, ambition doesn't have to be necessarily only about having more money or material things.
Right.
You could also have the ambition of making your community a better place. Actually, I have something to clean my eyes. So you could also have the ambition of giving a positive contribution, to see change.
Yeah.
To be romantic enough to believe that you want to be a part of this. Be a dreamer and you know, and help your community be better. That could also be ambition. You no longer come from, oh, he's ambitious. He wants to always look good. He's into fashion.
Right.
He's vain. No, he's righteous. He's a community activist.
Right.
That means well.
Right.
And his sophistication also manifests in a good sense of style, because he has quality that comes from within. And not only something just in a very superficial way.
Right.
So it changes automatically. The perspective. Also, ego. I don't believe that you really have to be humble. Unnecessarily humble.
Right.
You know, you're too nice. I'm not that good.
Yeah.
No, I think you have to be realistic about what you're really good at and what you're not that good at. You know? Like, I'm not very good at everything drumming.
Right.
You know?
Right.
I just have a few things that I'm pretty good.
Yeah, I hear you.
But there's always room for improvement, even if I were to live 1,000 years. Then it exhausted almost like all the techniques and jazz and stuff. What about African beats? What about Afro-Cuban?
Yeah.
What about salsa? What about that whole open? What about Indian beats that feel it in a different way? What about Asian? So like, it would always be a never ending. Thing. And I still wouldn't be the man.
Right.
Now, doesn't mean that I don't recognize the things that I'm good at. But with that, so when you feel that you can actually, that you're in a position to bring something positive to the table, and granted, you'll never be able to please everybody. There'll always be one. They're like, you know what? A lot of those people, they like to show up. They're part of the VIP club. And people don't understand that the fact that you are brave enough to be the face of something that you believe and put your face out there, that comes from courage.
Yeah.
Not necessarily from vanity.
Right.
And the ones that actually only come from vanity, eventually people will tell. They're not that serious. And eventually they won't last long.
Right.
So I'm here to truly be a part of a movement, be a catalyst of change and grow in the process. And I believe that in order to do that, every now and again, if I have to, I'll have my solo.
Right.
But until then, overall, I'm just going to keep the beat marching on, because the show must go on.
Right.
You know? And I remember when I was with my best friends playing the first shows, and I was super, super, super nervous. And And I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah.
I cannot stop.
Right.
No matter what. This is happening.
Yeah.
People are, oh no, people are looking at me. Ah, oh shit, my mom is there.
Right.
Oh my God. And that's how I feel it.
Yeah.
Like no matter what, some days and some moments will be more successful than others, but overall, there's got to be a momentum, and a continuity, to the mission that it is that we want to bring. I guess one of the hardest things before that is what you started by asking: who is Carlos? And a lot of people struggle with finding their true selves, whether because the family wants them to be something else, the spouse, or loved one, or friends, their society, and some of them would like to explore things that are more creative, or something else, or sports, but never really tried it. So one thing that I'm very lucky is that my mom, my family they were always very supportive of everything.
Yeah.
My grandmother got to see me playing with a punk band at Hell's Kitchen. Hell's Kitchen before Burke's wasn't the best venue to listen to music. I mean, it was just a bar and it was very loud. But my grandmother told me, and she lives during dictatorship in Portugal, and didn't go to school, and gave me one of the best pieces of advice and one of the best compliments ever. You have to understand that from someone that comes from, she didn't go to school. My parents actually went to school and college, but not my grandmother. I grew up in Lisbon, but my family's from the rural area around Coimbra.
Okay.
And so not necessarily a city girl, ended up growing up in the San Francisco area after.
Yeah.
But, didn't really go to school. And she was like, I'm very proud of you. Back then I was working as a TV reporter, and she was like, I'm very proud of you to see you on TV. You're the first person in our family that we see on TV. So but after a punk show, right? So to see you on TV, but if you were to be able to raise a family just playing the drums, I'll be equally play. I don't like this music. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
That guy singing looks like a crazy fool.
Yeah.
But I see you so happy doing it.
Right.
And to be able to, it's not that I was playing the Portuguese stuff that an older Portuguese person, I can relate to that. No, it was like completely grimy. It's not even Pennywise, not even Blink-182. Green Day punk was grimy, old school, really heavy punk. And she was like, and I see that the joy in you. And it's about that. Sometimes you don't have to be the most sophisticated person in terms of intellectuals and education. With masters and stuff. You just have to be, that's the middle of that, peel all these layers and dissect what's really the most important thing. And it all boils down to respecting others, understanding what others are about, this notion of others, and how we can impact others and community as a whole and leave it a better place. That's what I try to do every day.
Shout out to you for that. It makes me think also about the character trait of gratitude, and how, I think about this often, and I talk about it sometimes with folks. Like, gratitude is such a powerful principle. Like, if I sit down, I started this thing a while ago. Like, I remember one morning I woke up and I reached for my phone immediately. And once I touched it, I was like, oh shit. What am I reaching for my phone? Like, I haven't done anything. You know what I mean? Like, why I'm reaching for my phone, like this knee-jerk reaction. And so my response to that was like, what are 3 things I'm grateful for? Like, just from waking up, what am I grateful for? To be alive, right? To be awake, to be conscious. And so I started doing that, where like, first thing I do when I wake up is like, I check in, like, what am I grateful for? And there's always things to be grateful for. Even from the first moment I wake up, I'm grateful that I woke up. That's a real thing, you know what I mean? But as you expand this, like, if I sit still and think about what am I grateful for, the list is indefinite. The list is infinite. The list will keep growing if I just stay still and keep thinking. Like there's so many things that just get kind of passed by mentally. But if you sit still and think about it, you can like pull all those things out. It's like, oh, I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful that I've experienced this. I'm grateful for the fact that I've contributed this and received this and done this and have the war scars from this so that I have perspective on that. And like, there's so many things to be grateful for. And even like, I'm thinking about you and your grandmother. It's like, whoever you are, unless you come from generations of privilege and wealth, which 99% of people don't, we all live a life where we do things casually that our grandparents, that would have been an impossibility for our grandparents. Like it's they couldn't fathom these things. You know what I mean? And we get to do them and be these people. You know what I mean? And then there is personally, individually, there's such gratitude in the experiences that we get to have outside of the context of our lineage. Like just, I got to do such and such. And it was really cool and I really enjoyed it. You know what I mean? Or I got to try such and such. You know what I mean? Whatever those things are. So I'm interested in your relationship with gratitude. Like, how does that play for you?
Are you kidding me? I got to tour.
Yeah.
I got to make it to somewhat, what do you call, I'm not a Travis Barker, but I'm still very grateful that I feel that I got to the pro league.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful that I didn't disappoint the kid in me.
Yeah.
You know?
Hell yeah.
Sometimes I remember when I was younger, really a kid, sometimes I would do silly things. And I remember, I wonder how I'm going to feel about myself when I grow up.
Right,
I was
right.
like looking at the kid that I once was. So I always thought about what will Carlos from the future tell about and think about the Carlos from the past.
Right.
So Carlos from the future now, the present, is proud that I didn't disappoint the kid that truly believed in this, very an utopia of being a professional drummer touring the world.
Yeah.
Didn't really tour the world, but I got to play in Portugal, Spain, got to play in the States, toured the States and Canada. So I still made it pretty close. And now I find a lot of the purpose in giving back to the local scene. So I'm just very grateful. I'm very grateful for people like you that also show this respect and to a certain extent admiration for what I do. Again, that gratitude comes with responsibility. I cannot disappoint you all of a sudden. Want me to this high regard? I cannot slack now.
I hear you.
You know, like people that Randy that we've toured that also gave me an opportunity to also tour.
Yeah,
you know? It was here in Newark,
right?
That I got to make all these dreams come true.
Yeah,
in a way through people from Newark.
Right.
You know, so like I will always owe that to Newark.
Yeah.
So it's my responsibility to also give back.
Right.
It was in Newark that I also worked as a TV reporter for the Portuguese community from Newark. It was in Newark that I got to be the MC of the Portugal Day Parade. Yeah. The biggest parade in the Portuguese diaspora in the world, here in Newark.
Right.
So I'm very grateful for all the things that have been given to me. It was in Newark that I, got the inspiration of pursuing my studies and went back to college, and now I'm teaching at Rutgers. Right. It was all of my adult life post Portugal. Is everything comes from a lot of the inspiration that I got from Newark. It's true. Yeah. I'm a result of a lot of positive interactions with people and from Newark, and a lot of cool movements in Newark that made me the person that I am today. So I'm forever grateful. It goes beyond gratitude as a part of who I am. Right. Yeah. And as I said, if I understand that this was the result, and it wasn't always easy. It wasn't given to me. Newark is a tough city. Yeah. You have to prove yourself. Yeah. and sometimes I have to
Over and over.
over and over. It's not like, oh,
Right.
he's cool.
Right.
He's a great drummer.
Right,
He speaks multiple languages. It's not gonna cut it.
Right.
It's not gonna cut it.
Right.
You have to truly be consistent.
Mhm.
And then I feel that once it's almost like a ninja samurai thing. Like once there's the ninja, the Newark samurai is like, you're finally ready, my child, to be a part of the Newark ninjas.
Word.
Type of thing. But you have to continuously do it. And once you're given the sword, then that's not, you got to put the sword to use.
Yeah.
Because now then you're expected to. So again, gratitude, ambition, instead of ego, let's just call it true notion of self.
Yeah.
That's what I think that it should be. Nothing wrong with being confident about
Absolutely.
things. You have to be confident.
Absolutely.
You have to be confident to be a musician.
Yeah.
You have to be confident to put yourself out there. You're not going to be like, sorry, I play the drums.
Right.
Sorry. No, you have to.
Right.
But you have to live up to it too.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're giving you the spotlight. Now what?
Right, what you got? Yeah.
So you have to be ready for that moment. Even Uriel was a filmmaker, very close friend. He was like, one thing that I admire about you or respect about musicians is that the interaction is immediate. Not like a filmmaker, that they work and then all of a sudden they finish, put it in a beautiful book. Then it's for the world to see.
Right.
But musicians, we're there.
It's
an automatic reaction.
Immediate.
Action, reaction.
Yeah.
And so again, with all of that, it comes. It's I never forget. It's always there, like this sense of responsibility, and then again, if you really do something that you truly love, I guess eventually you want to keep getting better at it.
Yeah.
It's not only like I can say that yes, it's I have to be that for people that really respect me, but it's also something that I want to do myself, like naturally.
Yeah.
Like I just want to eventually become a better drummer, become a better communicator, come up with different ideas, to bring a even more positive contribution to Plessible and to everything I do, as even become a better lecturer for my students. I mean, anything that we're given the platform, it's up to us to then.
Yeah.
A lot of people can say, or Pharrell Williams said it best. He was like, a musician or an artist without a business plan will often lead to victimization. People can say like, oh, it's the world's fault, society. I was never given an opportunity. You have to fight for those opportunities, and then when the opportunity is given to you, then what? You're going to victimize yourself? Now show. It's like, Carlos, oh, you want to be a drummer? Here's the drums.
Yeah.
Now entertain me.
Right.
Type of thing.
Right.
That's what people, because it's always easier to feel sorry, to say that, oh, I wasn't given the right opportunities because I don't know the right people, because I don't, whatever. I don't belong to a certain ethnic group. I'm not, blah, blah, blah. My parents are not rich. It's so easy to find excuses. Hard is to find solutions and continuously try to make it a possibility to continue and to keep this mission going and to keep the beat going.
Yeah. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you.
Absolutely.